Hello again and welcome back. My name's Annie and this is my creative detour. Today I'm going to be joining a collaboration that's ran by Susan over at I Totally Love It, and it's called Junk Journal Madness, and it has a hashtag. It's hashtag JJMadness, and it's basically a challenge or a collaboration where you make a journal each month for the months of February through to October, except for July. And Susan gives you some information about what you need to do. And each month she has a guest collaborator. And this month it's Polly from the YouTube channel called Charming Tabby. So head over and give Polly some love as well. But it's probably best just to have a look at Susan's information. I'll link both channels down below in the description. And like I said, you have to create a journal each month where you make a journal, something that's a little bit different than what you normally do. And the guest collaborator gives the theme. So Polly had some themes and it got pulled out that it was going to be flowers for February. And then you get allocated through a rolling of the dice how many materials you have to use and how many things you need to create. So for example, we've got 7 different materials that we've got to use in the journal, and then we've also got 7 different things that we need to make happen, so like a tag or a flip out or a belly band or a pocket. So there's 7 of each. So as I said, I'll have the links to both Susan's channel at I Totally Love It and Polly's link as well for Charming Tabby. So what am I doing? I'm going to be making a waterfall journal. I've done a start on one, and I'm going to have a policy closure on it. So you can see here I've cut the components for the policy closure, but we'll have a look at that in a moment. As you can see, I don't have it finished. We're going to be doing multiple videos on this February journal. So this is video number 1 for February for Junk Journal Madness. As you can see, I've cut apart a 14-month calendar, and it was a calendar from Kaisercraft in 2023. Now let me tell you the size of the calendar. I've got quite a few of them actually. I tend to buy them when they get marked down to $1, and I then stash them. So let me tell you how much it measures. So it measures 38.5 centimeters, which is approximately 15 1/8 of an inch in height, and in width 25 centimeters, which is 9 7/8 in width. So in this video, what I'm going to show you is how I prep my calendar and all of the measurements for that, and how I create all of the pages with lots of interactive folds and things. And then I'll show you also the start of my journal here, of how I've started decorating it, because you kind of need to decorate it as you build it, because you need to, put paper or something behind before you glue pockets down or glue tuck spots in or belly bands or whatever. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So let's cut this down first, and I'll show you what I do with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it inside out and get to the back cover so that I can get this little metal hook thing out, which I'm going to keep actually because I've got some things to do with those. So we'll turn it to the very back page and turn it back on itself. And if you turn it to the back, well, then you'll be able to pull this and ease it out of the teeth. Okay. Now, some of the teeth are going to bend a little bit, and just push them back into position and close it back up. There we go. That's great. And I'm going to save this for another project. Okay, open it back up to its normal position again. So now we have that hook out. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide which pages I want to keep. Now I'm covering all of my pages. The thing that's important to me is up here where we've got this cinch closure that we're keeping, if it's really patterned up in here, you're going to see what's happening. So I'm going to flick through it, and you can see that this one here, this page here, it has a fairly neutral top to it, like it's not heavily patterned. Unlike the previous page, you can see it's got lots of printing on it. So what I need is 10 pages. Well, this has got 14 pages in it because it's a 14-month calendar, but I only need 10. Now I've pulled one out. You can see that this one's highly patterned at the top, but this one, it's not. So I want to keep this page because it won't have much colour tucked up in here. So I'm going to just quickly flick through and see which pages I want to keep. So that's a definite. This one's neutral at the top, so that's a definite. So's that. So's that. And so's that. And that. This one's patterned, so I'm going to take that one out. And it's flowers, so I'll be able to use that image probably. So as I said, I need 10. So how many do I have? 7. Let's take that one out. 9. Okay, I've got 9, so I've got to decide out of the ones that are left, do I want this one or this one? And this one's a little more subtle, so I'm going to pull that one out. And the reason I'm pulling them out now is because I don't need to be cutting through them if I'm not going to use them. It's just more things that you've got to cut through. So there we go. We've got 10 pages in our calendar, and we're going to cut it into 2 journals. So out of each calendar, you'll get 2 journals, and you'll get some extra pages to do some things with. So let's turn it back to the front again. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to line it all up perfectly, and with my sticky tape I'm going to just stick it closed. So I'm going to put a piece of sticky tape down here and then line it up perfectly and put another one on. And then I'm going to also put one about here and one about here, just to keep it all nice and tight. So the next thing is I need to measure the width of my calendar, and I'm going to cut it so that it just misses this little thumb hole here to the edge of it, and I'll tell you the measurement of that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do it at 4.5 inches. So I'm just going to put a little bit of a mark here, and I'm measuring from the outside edge at 4.5 inches. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to measure in 4.5 inches and put another mark on here. Then I'm going to do the same thing down the bottom. So we want to mark at 4.5 inches. Then we want to come in 4.5 inches from the other side and put a mark there at 4.5 inches. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut it. And I have a long steel ruler that I'm going to put in here and line those up. Now you can use whatever knife that you like using. You know, use a knife that you know how to use it and you're used to using it, because it takes a bit of an effort to cut through it. So you can see that I have squeezed in my ruler and I've kind of bent over that first spiral just so that I can get my ruler in nice and flat, and we'll be able to push it back into shape later. Then I'm lining it up, and I'm actually going to stand up. Spread your fingers along your ruler and use your knife and just go slowly, and don't try and cut through it all in one go. Multiple passes with constant pressure, and I can feel that it's just cut through. Okay, you can see that because I just took it steadily, it hasn't burred anything, it hasn't dragged anything. It's nice and clean, and it's all taped together still. So then you need to do the other side. So same thing, line up your two markings and cut through this one, and that will give you your two. So I will do that off camera later. So now we have our journal. You can see that I have cut this one and started it. So this is the mate. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to score the pages that are in here. So we have 10 pages, and I want it to be a waterfall. Now let me show you my current one. Just going to hide some of the pages that I've done. So you can see here that I have 10 pages, and then I have a piece down the bottom of the backing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it waterfalls down. And here you can see that I have gone through and decided what I want different things to be. So here I have a little marking on here that I'm going to put a notch here and put a journaling card into that pocket and make this a journaling spot. This one here, you can see that I've decided that I'm going to put 2 notches like this, and this one opens up. That was March. And I've put X's on it because I'm going to stitch a row of stitching through there, and then put 2 tags into it, and that will be somewhere to have some tags in a pocket. This one here, you can see, here's my page. I have cut it and I've scored it, and then I've decided that I want a pocket on the front, and I've put a little notch on it, and when I turn it over, I want a pocket with a notch on the back. This one here is a belly band. You can see that I have cut July, and I've cut 2 off and left a belly band on that I'm going to use on the front here as a belly band. So you need to go through and work out what you want to do on each page, not just cut them off, leave them the full length so that you can manipulate and fold the pages into different interactive elements. So let's do that in this one. Page 1. Because this is 4.5 inches wide, I'm going to be working for all my fellow metric people. I'm going to be working in imperial, but I will put all of the measurements in the description below for you to refer to it if you're wanting to convert one of these calendars. So because our width of our journal is going to be 4.5 inches, I'm going to measure my first one at 4.5 inches and put a little mark. You can see that I have a mark here and a mark there. The next page, I'm going to have a 1/2 inch step down. So we're going to go for a mark at 5 inches on either side, 5 inches. The next one, 5.5 inches on both sides. The next one, 6. The next one, 6.5. The next one, 7. Then 7.5. And then 8. And then 8.5. And then 9. And then the last one, we're going to do the back at 9.5 inches. So let me show you on this one. The back one, I measured it at 9.5 inches and put a mark. And I'm measuring it from the top of the card, not from the holes. So all my measurements are from the top of the paper or the card, and I'm not worrying about the perforation. So our overall measurement of our journal is going to be 4.5 by 9.5 inches. And that's the cardstock and paper size. Okay, so leave the back on for the moment, but we just do all those markings. Now what you need to do then is you need to go through and score on your scorer, however you've got a scorer, at all of those markings. So let me do one for you. I'll do one that's a colour that's easy to see. Okay, so we have a page here, and I have marked this one at 7 inches. So I'm not using my measure at the top of my score to work it out. I'm using my markings. So I'm just making sure that it's butted up level to my scorer, and I'm aligning my mark into where it's going to score, and then I'm scoring it. I'm not trying to measure from here because it's going to be very difficult to measure accurately with our cinch binding in it. It's much better to go off what you've marked. And then you can fold it over and burnish that score down. So do all of those scores, and you'll end up with your journal that has a score here, a score here, and will fold. Okay, then what we need to do is we need to then work out what we're going to do with each section. So if you want to do exactly what I'm doing, you're welcome to follow along, or you can come up with whatever you want to do. The first one, you can see that I have turned it into a window. There's my window there. So it has a piece of acetate glued in, and it doesn't open, it's completely closed. So what I want to do is I want to cut this down so that it folds over and glues closed. So let's do that one. So I'm going to fold it like this on the score at 4.5 inches, and then fold it back on itself and just press it down at the beginning of those holes for the perforation. Put a little bit of a push on it so that I can see it. Then I'm going to mark it, and I will cut that off. So all I'm making sure is that it's down straight onto my cutter, and I'll cut that off, but I want to save this for making tags and things. So keep those bits, and then that will close over, and there's your first page. We'll do the hole punch later. So then the next one, we go down 1/2 inch, and it's going to be a score line at 5 inches. And the next one, I decided that I wanted to do a tuck spot here. Let me find something to slide in there for you. So you can see it's got a tuck spot here that I will make a tag for. And then when you fold it over, it's got another tuck spot on the other side. So we need to do a multi-fold. So let's do that one together. So the same process, I'm going to fold this one back on itself, and then bend it back like we did the first one, and line it up nice and straight with the edges. Find where it just skims those perforation squares and press it down. And then you can see that we have a bit of overhang. So just mark your overhang and we're going to cut that off, and I'm going to cut it off just on the other side of the line so that it's not sticking beyond the spot. So nice and straight on your cutter, pull it down. And there we go. So now that will fold up. You can see that we're starting to get a few pages. This one will turn into a window. This one, it folds down for one tuck spot and another tuck spot, and we'll glue those closed. Okay, the next one, I decided that I wanted 2 pockets. So what I'm going to do, once again, same thing. You can see that there's a bit of a repetitive pattern, so you don't have to think about and do lots of measuring. There's not a massive amount of measuring in it actually. So fold it just shy of those squares and push it down, trying to get it straight. And we're going to cut this off. I will mark it. And then what we need to do is we need to decide on how wide we want our pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it at 2 inches and at 2.5 inches, and I'll do it at the top and the bottom. 2 inches, 2.5 inches, and I'm going to cut that little rectangle out. So I'll get my knife and I'll just draw it so you can see. So we're cutting that and this piece here, and we're going to cut this piece out here. And then I'm just going to cut that tiny little piece out. So now you can see that we have 2 pockets. We have one for this page. So where's my pencil? I'll put a notch here, and then we'll turn it over and we'll have a notch here. Now back on this one, I didn't do notches there, but you can decide where you want them. I'm going to put a notch here, and I'm going to put a notch here for a journaling spot. Okay, so let's have a little look at how our waterfall's going. You can see that it's coming along nicely. The next one, let's have a look in here. The next one we're going to do is another fold and tuck spot. So same process, just fold it, get it nice and straight, fold it back on itself, and we're going to cut that off, and we'll put a little marker on that of which side we want a notch on. You can decide whichever side you want your notch on. The next one, we have another pocket situation. We'll start by doing the same thing, folding over, bending back on itself, just shy of the perforation holes. Cut that off. I hope you're all doing well and having a good week. I'd just like to say a big hello to everybody. Thank you all for watching my last few videos. They've done very well. And thanks to all my regulars for giving me such wonderful feedback. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to also say hello to all of my new subscribers. Hello and welcome. It's lovely to have you here. And I hope you really enjoy checking out the channel and looking at some of my previous videos. And I hope you enjoy chatting with everybody in the comments. So thank you very much for subscribing, and it's lovely to have you here. So now I've marked that measurement that I spoke about. So we're cutting it at 2 3/4 inches, and it's going to do one pocket on the front and one on the back. Now you can decide which way you want it. No, we'll do it this way. We'll do a small one at the front and the bigger one at the back. And the reason I'm doing it like that is because I might cut off here another one and do a double stack pocket here. But this is going to need to have a notch and a little notch here. All right, the next one is a belly band. So let's do that. That one was a good one to do. So you can see that by keeping it all together and long, you can use it to create different interactive elements in your journal. So our belly band here is measuring 1.5 inches. So I'm going to fold this first, do the same step, and cut it off. And then we're going to measure in 1.5 inches at the top and the bottom, and 3 inches. So we'll do 1.5 and 3, and we'll do that at the top as well. And I'm going to just put a mark on that to show you. You don't have to draw a line, but I want to be able to show you what we're doing. So we're going to cut this piece out and cut this piece out. So let me do that. So there we go. There's our belly band one. Okay, so I've cut that down, and what we're going to do with this one is we're going to turn it into 2 pockets on the back, and I'm going to put a notch in it here and a notch in it here, and I'm actually going to do some stitching along here and stitch on it. So this one will glue down, and it'll have 2 pockets for tags to slide in. All right, now it gets a little bit easier now. So now we can just fold all of our ones up. So this one here, we're going to fold it back on itself, and we're just going to bend it back on itself and have a policy closure where we will attach one of our other pieces in here like this. We're going to put a notch on here, and we'll glue that down and have a pocket here. Grab one of your cut-offs and score it at 1/2 inch so that we can bend it over, and it will glue in here like that. And you can decide on how big you want it, but we're going to have that as a policy closure, and we'll get to showing you that in the next video. So just leave that piece in there for you to know that it's a policy closure. Then the next one, I've left this as a feature to put on one of my wrap and stack flowers that I made in my last video. So if you haven't seen that, head over and see it, where it's a decorative flower. Let me get it out and show you. And it will go on here like this. It's a paper clip, and it will be a feature on the page. And then there'll be a pocket on the back here. So let's draw a little notch in that. And then the last one is going to be a feature spot and a policy closure at the back. So let's grab another piece of your offcut and score it at 1/2 inch again, and fold it over, and we're just going to pop that in there like that. Draw a little marker on it so you know, and we're going to have a policy closure in there as well. So there we go. Okay, so let's have a little look. So here's our front cover, and we'll cut that down before we finish today. And we have our first page. It's going to be a window, and you can do a round or a square or whatever window. You can do whatever you want, to be honest. The next one, we're going to have a pocket this side and a pocket that side. This one, we've got a pocket on the face and a pocket at the back. This one here, we have another tuck spot, so it's a pocket, hidden pocket and a pocket. This one, we've got a stacked pocket where I'm going to use a piece and put another pocket on here. So you could put that there if you wanted to, so that you know. And we're going to have two pockets on the back and one on the front. Then we have a belly band, and then we have a stitched pocket at the back with two notches and tuck spots, and we'll make a feature of this. So this would be lovely to do some sort of art installation here. Here we're going to have a policy closure, so it probably needs to cut down a little bit, but we can cut that down when we're making it so that we get it the right side. And then it's got going to have a pocket here with a tuck in it. The next one, we're going to have a nice spot here to put our hidden paper clip. And then the last one, we're going to have a policy closure. So let's now cut down our front and our back and have it all cut and ready. I'm going to start with the back. You can see that I've already got it marked. So I'm going to cut that off, and multiple passes, not try to do it all in one go. And that was getting cut off at 9.5 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to now cut off our cover. So you can see that our back, it hangs a little bit further down, which is perfect. We want it to go a little bit further down. And our cover, we want to cut it off at 7 inches. So let's measure it and mark it at 7 inches. And remember, we're measuring from the top of the card. We're not going below the perforation. And you might be thinking, oh, Annie, you've cut it too short. I haven't cut it too short because I'm going to use this now to create a policy closure. So what we do now is we're going to score this, and we're going to score it at 3 3/4. Score it, and then 4 1/4. So just fold it, and you can see that we've got some overhang that's too long, which is exactly what we want, and it will allow us to create a policy closure here with some circles and eyelets and some twine. And then on the back, it will glue on and be a pocket on the back. So we'll do that when we get to doing our cover. So that's the construction of the journal and how I folded it. So let's have a little look at where I'm at with building the pages. Now what I found was I was going to make the whole journal and then decorate it on camera. But what I've found is when you're building the journal, and because there's all lots of flips and flops and things going in different directions, you kind of need to decorate it as you're going. You kind of need to put your paper down onto it. So you can see that I have put a window in the front, first one, and then because it's a flower journal, I have stamped some flowers, and I've put some book page in the background and then stamped and then put a little bit of ephemera on and stamp some flowers in the background, and I purposely stamped onto the acetate window. I wanted to do that, and I used StazOn for that. Then on the back, you can see that I've used a little bit of scrap. Actually, I've used a little bit of calendar. I pulled some pages out of the calendar, and I've used some book page, put some gesso down, a little bit of tissue paper from Tim Holtz, then some ephemera and some tickets, and I've just layered and stamped. And then I've also put a little bit of washi on. Now, I haven't built any tags or anything yet. So you can see we've got a pocket here, and we've got a pocket on the back. And all I've done here is I put some book page down out of a gardening book, and then I put a little bit of Tim Holtz tissue paper on, and some torn ephemera, and a little bit of gesso so that you can write on it if you want. And this is actually a little tuck spot as well. But I wanted it so you could look through it and just see some numbers. The next one, I cut out an image from a gardening book, and it's of a tiger orchid. And I just did some stenciling on the back of the image of the book page. And I also put, I'm not sure whether the camera will pick it up, I also put some gold pen work around the stencil, just on it to create a shadow. And then I also put some gold ink around. This one is actually a pocket. So you can see that's one of those ones that the pocket's on the front and the back. And I just carried over some book page, some gesso, and then that stencil. And once again, I have done some gold pen work on it. So we're going to have lots of hidden journaling cards in this journal to have opportunities to actually journal. Then on here we've got just some lined paper so you could write on this, and then this is a pocket, and then this is just a composition, and I left the blue background that was in the book. You can see that the blue up here where the cinch is, it's dark blue, so I didn't want to put a lighter paper onto that because you would really notice it. So I just did a little bit of stenciling in some white ink, and then I did some texture paste and embossed it with gold, put on some flowers out of collage soup and a little bit of a cluster. And then that's all I've got done so far. But you can see that then we go on to building the rest of our pages. So I will probably work on building my pages and covering them with book page or whatever, so that then in the next video we decorate the rest of the pages together and finish building the journal. So I hope you liked that. I've never made a journal out of a calendar before. I have made a waterfall journal and I have made a policy closure journal, but I haven't made it out of calendars. So it's a good use of some of those things that are hanging around. There we go. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that it wasn't all too technical. I will put together some measurements of where to score your pages in the description below so that you can see where to score your pages, and then you can decide however you want to cut and fold your pages to make it yours. So that's all from me today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video and you're liking the journal, give the video a thumbs up and think about subscribing. And thank you again to everybody who's been watching and subscribing lately. I really appreciate it. And I will see you again on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody, and enjoy making something fun and new. Bye for now.